We're taking a look at this morning at one of our readings from this past week, and Psalm 103. We're limiting it to 1 and 2 and verse 5, and we're really going to pay attention to verse 5. So bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me, bless his holy name. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all his benefits, who satisfies your yearning with good, so that your youth is renewed like the eagle. It's an interesting thing that he starts out, David does, by telling us, don't forget the benefits. Bless the Lord, and we'll speak to that in a little bit. But the admonishment there is, don't forget all his benefits. And it brings to mind for you, doesn't it, those times in Scripture, in the Hebrew Scriptures, where you'll read over and over again that they are recalling what took place in the Exodus. So they're recalling what took place when God released them from Egypt. It's all of a piece. They're not forgetting the benefits that God has given them in their lives. And we should understand that God's benefits are the things that he continually is in the act of doing to rescue us from the darkness and to draw us into his communion of love. Those are the benefits that God is giving us. It's what he's actually doing continually, not a one-off. It's what he's doing to rescue us from the darkness and to draw us into his communion of love. When we forget God's benefits, when we overlook them, or we're distracted from them, or we neglect them, the fallout of that is we lose sight of God's presence. We lose sight of his nearness and how he is relating to us in that moment. And when we ignore God's benefits, our way of life with him withers. And I think that's really helpful for David to tell us that. Because those times when we are not aware of his presence, those times when it feels like our life with him is withered, he's saying, you need to look to your remembrance. Are you distracted from God? Are you neglecting what he is in the act of doing at that moment? He's giving us a prescription, a diagnosis, and then he gives us a prescription. It's when we forget God's benefits that our vision is distorted. Our perception of how the world works is darkened. Our view of God is corrupted, of who we are and what's really going on is corrupted. And so we're going to focus on one of the benefits, each one of the different benefits that he lists there, who forgives all your iniquity, who heals all your diseases, and so forth, could be its own message. But I really felt the Spirit leading us to this particular benefit, which is in verse 5 this morning. So let's start out simply reading it again, and then I want to focus in for just a brief bit of time on the word good. One of the benefits is who satisfies your desire or your longing or your yearning with good, so that your youth is renewed like the eagles. And even before I get to the word good, this word desire or yearning is not a word you would expect. And it's why when you read various translations, you'll come up with things like either desire, or you'll come up with the word mouth. It doesn't mean mouth at all. Or you'll come up with the word life, and it isn't chaya. It's a word that literally means ornaments. Ornaments.
What?
Like what you put on a tree. Or the way in which women in that culture would wear things that enhanced their beauty, enhanced their desirability, or what made them good to look at, to be with. And you think, well, now, what in the world? What's the connection there? The connection is that, as happens in words that have a bit of a development, that developed into what you desire that will make your life good. What you desire that will beautify your life. And we'll not get into it all what I'm about to say, but there's a connection between what is good and what is beautiful. You can't have one without the other. And it is this connection, that alerts us to the difference between what is beautiful and what is merely pretty. Because beauty and pretty are not the same thing. You can have something that is pretty but is not beautiful. And you can have something that is beautiful that is not pretty. And it has to do with this link to the good. That's all I'll say on that. So I just want you to get a sense of, there is this yearning then for that which will ornament our lives, for that which will bring good. This yearning for our life to be ornamented is what God satisfies with good. Because we seek to satisfy this in all sorts of ways that aren't necessarily good. Does that make sense? Okay, so let's look at this word. The word good is such a huge, huge concept. We're going to focus in on just 4 points this morning. We're going to begin with a statement in Psalm 119:68. This is the fill in the blank. It's short. And there, Scripture says, you, speaking to God, you are good and the source of it. You are good and the source of it. It reminds you of what Jesus tells the rich young ruler when he says, good master, the rich young ruler does, in addressing Jesus. And Jesus says, there's no one good but God. So, we start off by recognizing that God is himself the good. And God, therefore, is the source of everything that actually is good. If it is not sourced by God, it is not good. If it doesn't lead to what looks like God, it is not good. All right?
So, can I interrupt?
Sure.
So could verse 5 read this, like this, or am I totally off here? Who satisfies your desire with God instead of good?
It can, but to say the good is also to say the ways in which God satisfies your desire. But you're on the right track, absolutely. That's where you'd have to start understanding that. You'd want to add a couple of things. And that's what we're looking at in these next points. So point number 2. The good is that which benefits your life. The good is that which benefits your life.
And this is the same good that is the Garden of Eden, like in the Garden of Eden specifically, knowing good and evil. It'd be the exact same application context of good, right?
It would, and it's also what makes the Garden of Eden the paradigm for what we're really looking for, which is the good life that God will bring completely to being at the end of all things. Yes. Because when you look at what was available in Eden, he says, there are all these trees that are good for food. These will benefit you, your life. They'll what you will feed on and nourish you because you have physicality at this point, yes? And so part of what's good is what will sustain that physicality and nourish it. All right, moving to the third point. The good is that which contributes to or aligns with your purpose in life. Very helpful thing to know. Because there are many things that we seek out as the good we want in a particular moment that do not at all align us with the purpose of our being, with the end toward which we are made. But in order to be good, it must do that. It's a great way to check through. Is this the good I really want now? And these two attributes or statements of the good, that which benefits your life and that which contributes to or aligns with your purpose in life, you see both of those worded in this passage from James in 1:17 that's on your handout there. So James writes, "Do not be deceived, my beloved. Every good gift and perfect gift is from above." Why? Well, because God is the good, and there is no good except he gives it, and comes down from the Father of lights. Look at those words, good gift and perfect gift. The word perfect is the word that means goal. It's the word that means the end for which something is headed, or to which it is headed. Notice the definitions of goodness. That which benefits your life, that's good. That's the good gift. The good gift, then, is also that which will bring you toward the goal.
The perfect gift is?
We would say, if you were going to just absolutely literally translate it, which is why it isn't, we would say, just a minute, I know I'm getting there, we would say the goal gift. What we would want to change that with, the gift that brings you to your goal. And by your goal, we mean who and what God has made you to be. Okay? Who and what God has made you to be. All right, so then, the fourth point. Whew, too many points. The fourth point is simply this. Since God is goodness itself and the source of all good, every good in life is really God in the act of loving us. This is the benefit we must not forget. Every good in life is God in the act of loving us at that moment. First question then, in light of these four statements, can you name some things that are good?
I was just thinking in terms of virtues that the culture might say are good versus things that we know are truly good. So take generosity, going back to our Lexio, the idea that, it's God's good pleasure to give gifts to our children. And so as we imitate and image him, not only does this reflect God's love as a conduit through us, but it's like the thing that fulfills our genuine longing. And so to your point of, well, it benefits us, it also describes what our purpose is, how we're imaging him, and how it's fulfilling our longing, like all in one. And so we can look at that and say, that would be something that is definitely true, that is good.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And those would be the way in which you would know that it's good. Yes.
I was thinking something like really just a nice sunset or like cool breeze on a hot day.
Yes. Yes. Because that benefits you. Well, I don't know so much if it does, right? I mean, it benefits me because I enjoy it. Well, that means it benefits you, right? And this is where we begin to see that the good is not simply a moral category. Good fits every category, and that includes the ontological. So, as Brian was referring back to Eden, the trees are good. Why are they good? Given our definitions.
God's purpose.
It benefits our life. We are incarnate beings. And so that is the kind of life we have. We have the incarnate kind of life. And so we need that which will give us or benefit that life. And what does that tell you about God? What is that tree then to you in that moment?
His love for us.
Yes, that is God in the act of loving you at that moment. Not just something he put in place a long time ago and then walked away from. Because God is the one in whom all things exist and are sustained. If God was not sustaining that tree right now, speaking it into existence, you wouldn't have it to eat from. And so that is God in the act of loving you in that moment. You are in that moment the recipient of God's goodness to you. David.
I think sometimes, though, we view good or goodness as pleasure. And sometimes I think God allows things that aren't necessarily pleasurable, but in the long run it'll benefit us for the good. For example, like at work, I'm given a stretch assignment that I don't necessarily want to do because it gets me out of my comfort zone, and I have to develop skill sets that I don't have, and I'm afraid of failing.
Right.
But then when I get on the other side of it and I'm killing it, then I'm like, crap, I can do this, right?
Yes.
Like, and it's going to benefit me in my career in the long run.
Exactly.
You know. So, but it wasn't necessarily pleasurable.
Right. Right.
You know.
Yes. That just ties into one of the key themes of early church theology when it comes to the tree of good and evil. When God is no longer the one who is telling you about the good, we have to find some way to define what is the good and what is evil. And what we tend to do is, if it gives us pleasure, that's the good. If it doesn't give us pleasure, then it's evil. Well, that's really misleading. That gets to the difference also between what's pretty and what's beautiful. Yeah. Good point, David. Anyone else? What are some other things that are good?
Ultimately, that we won't perish, that we won't know non-existence. Like that Jesus. I mean, that's the biggest.
Yes.
Thing. It's really the only thing that matters, really.
Yes.
In my opinion.
Yes. Food's pretty beneficial. Yeah? Air's pretty beneficial. The sun is pretty beneficial. If you look at the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus uses the sun shining to be the example about how God loves us, good and bad people. The sun shines on them both, which is the picture of God's love. So when we go outside and we see the sun, we should really be saying, that is God in the act of loving me. How often do we do that? The same thing about the rain. A lot of us grouse about the rain, But when we are in the rain, Jesus is saying, well, you know what? That's God in the act of loving you. That is a good He is giving you for the yearning that you have in life. But we don't see it. We don't perceive it. And so we're unaware of the presence of God. We have forgotten His benefits at that moment.
In Israel, when it rains, they go out and celebrate, and it's a festive.
Yes.
It's a festival
Yes.
when it rains. Everybody runs out. And
They's dancing and singing and praising. Yeah.
Or because of a lot of people, if they don't like rain, just think of places where they never get rain. And how rain could radically change their lives for the better. So
Yes. Yes. So think about this some, and you realize that every moment of your life, there's an act of goodness born out of the love of God taking place for you at that very time. There is no time in which you are not the recipient of good. Every bad that happens within the context of the good. There's this thing about good and evil, it is asymmetrical. It's asymmetrical because goodness can tolerate or contain evil, but evil can't contain good. And we should think on that some. So the evil that's happening never is able to block out all the good, because good can contain evil, even though evil can't contain good. So when we're suffering, we're still breathing. When we're suffering, we're still living in a world in which we don't just fly off into space. And we have so disenchanted the world that we think, well, that's just the laws of physics. Well, who's holding the laws of physics in place? From nano to nano, right? That's God. And that means that even that quantum level is God in the act of loving you. And if you refuse to notice it, you're missing part of the benefit of the depth and the all-encompassing love that God is and is towards you. It's good. So what is the significance of the word yearning in verse 5? We've already spoken about this a bit.
which desire towards the goal.
Yes. 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 Yeah. There are things which you desire that are toward the goal. That's what it means simply to be rational. It means that you will desire, but your desire will always be toward a goal, and the goal is always what you perceive as the good. You can't be rational without that. And by rational, I don't mean you're logical in terms of being able to work out syllogisms. I simply mean that it is irrational for any being to knowingly choose what is not the good. Nobody does that. We choose what seems to be the good at that moment. But God knows the genuine good. Yeah. All right, so you have a yearning. And this yearning cannot be satisfied by anything except it be the good. It's not simply what you'd like to have, it's an actual need that's built in to who you are. And this yearning for the good is not a luxury. It's a requirement of your being. That's why he says that, and I've got the word in italics there, he satisfies your yearning. So this word satisfy doesn't mean simply to fill up what's empty. It carries the idea to satisfy with nourishment. To satisfy with nourishment. Because there are things you can be filled up with that will not nourish you. Right? And so, it's this nourishing your desire. Think about that a moment. Your yearning is nourished by the good, which means it's what is giving your yearning the nutrition that it requires. In other words, it is restoring your desire, your yearning. Remember when we were talking about the heart and the longing there, and that part of the issue was that our heart is sick. It's ill. We'll get into that in just a pinch too, briefly. Good is what nourishes your heart. Good is what nourishes your yearning. And you cannot be nourished by anything else. Everything else leaves you malnourished. It's the good that nourishes you. False good leads to malnourishment. If the good you are pursuing is not God in the act of loving you, your yearning cannot be satisfied. So name some of the symptoms of being physically malnourished and make connections with your yearning to be nourished.
I love that term. It's kind of cute. Someone who is hangry.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They're hungry, and because of that, maybe their blood sugar is low or whatever. They get very angry, and as a result, they mistreat those around them, and their behavior is quite ugly.
It's true.
Well, that's analogous to when we are in a similar state of being spiritually malnourished. We mistreat the world around us, and we, instead of beautifying it, we make the world around us ugly.
Yes, absolutely true. Absolutely true. What else in the physical happens when you're malnourished?
Well, this may not be right, but I was thinking, what's this, you buy a new car? Well, you may think that's good, but that doesn't really satisfy. I mean, it's temporal.
It is. That's a true statement, but it's not to the question that I'm asking now. But that's a true statement, yes. So if you look out and you see somebody who's starving to death, what is true of them? They're weak. Yes. You see, yes, they can be diseased. They can be mentally and physically disabled because your body requires this in order to think and relate properly. There's weight loss. Now let's make some connections. Okay? So if there's weight loss, spiritually that means the loss of glory. Because glory is what's weighty. When we are malnourished, away from the good, what we experience is we've lost too much substance in life. And it's made us so weak we can't live. Our way of life is affected. And so our way of life is diseased. It's disabled. And it's why we experience the difficulties that we do. And this is why David says what he does in the rest of this verse. So the point of satisfying your yearning with good, he says, is so that your youth is renewed like the eagle. What is the outcome of God satisfying our yearning with good? Even just do the surface level, what is the scripture saying on the surface?
Renew our strength.
Okay, so our strength is renewed.
Your life's going to soar. Your life's going to soar like an eagle.
Life is going to soar. This word renew is the word also that is used to give the idea of repair.
So there's it will overcome.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And what the lack of good has done to us gets repaired when we receive the good that God gives us. We all experience this, even in brief moments. Our lives look like they were going right down the drain, and we're angry and we're put out. And then all of a sudden we're made aware of the good. We're made aware of how it is that God is in the act of loving us, and everything changes. Just in that moment. That doesn't mean we don't go back, but what we experience is the power of the good to repair our perception. And so this is why Isaiah 40:31, that's on your handout there. Those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. This is the same thing, then, this capacity to be in the thick of life and not be wearied by it. This capacity to just go through your walk and not faint from what's going on. This is the kind of thing that Paul is talking about in Ephesians 6 when he says, put on the armor, and we're talking in the same kind of thing here. And he says, you do that so that you may be able to stand against the methods of the devil. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in heavenly places. We are not wearied by that as we receive the good. The good is what our yearning requires so that we may walk and not faint. If we're fainting, we've lost touch with the good. You hear that? If we're fainting, we've lost touch with the good. Doesn't mean that we're not suffering, and we know we're suffering. But when that causes us to black out, right, there's some sense of you've lost sight of the good. When it so wearies us, we simply capitulate to the worst that's in us, because we're too weary to fight. It means you've lost sight of the good. It is awareness of the good that sparks our courage to continue even though we live in the long defeat. And that is what makes that courage such a virtue. It's why we all are so impressed by those who live it. Notice what else. It says that your youth is renewed. Right?
What does that mean?
Yeah, I think it's so important. If we read this in light of Jesus, what was Jesus telling people? You need to become like a child. You need to become like a little child. And the word he means is literally become. Look at Matthew 18:2. Did I put that on your handout?
Yeah.
2-4. So look at what Jesus is saying there. He called a child whom he put among them and said, truly I tell you, unless you are changed, epistrepho, unless something turns your orientation and you become like children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. He doesn't say, I won't let you in. He says, you won't go there. You won't go to the kingdom where life is shaped according to God. And that means you are shaped according to God. That's what it means for God to rule. He shapes things to look like himself. Whoever becomes humble like this child is greatest in the kingdom of heaven. This is where we discover how greatness is defined. And this is where, too, as we're genuinely childlike, the joy is that we are with our God in His goodness. That humility of not needing to be something other than what we are satisfies us. I don't have to be the person you think a lot of. I don't have to be the best at something. I don't have to have life under my control. I can simply be humble and agree with God about what life says and what life means. That's when I'm humble. I'm not trying to define life on my own terms. Does that make sense? Do you see that? So when your youth is renewed, it means you have taken your place as a child to your Father. Because what we all are trying to do is live as grown-ups who don't need a daddy. But what Jesus calls us to is to be like a little child who is perfectly content not to know where the next dime is coming from, who is perfectly content not to have to work and be anxiety and know about what's in the cabinet. The child simply trusts that the Father will provide what's necessary. And so they are able to live simply, depending upon the Father. That's what is renewed in us as we recognize the goodness all around us. Because what we see is the Father is taking care of everything all the time, all around me. And even when the darkness comes against me, I'm never bereft of goodness. Because yes, that darkness is there, but it's taking place in the context of goodness that so far exceeds it, it can't be compared with. So I'm never without the demonstration of God's goodness and His love, even at the worst times of my life. So how has our discussion this morning helped you understand the good and the role it plays in your life?
A lot of us express, I know I experience this quite often, that there's some sort of deficiency of life force, right? And we express that a lot of times of feeling I'm exhausted, I'm run down, I'm burned out, or I've lost patience with this situation or this person. I just don't have the strength to go on in this arena, or I just can't take this. And I've learned now that what is that a symptom of?
Yes.
Right. And where are you going to find the source of life to deal with whatever that is?
Yes.
And it runs so contrary to our mechanistic view
Yes.
of how life works. And we have to so untrain that from our thinking to be more like, well, no, like you encourage us all the time, I don't have to get even with this person. This doesn't have to be fair. I don't have to be right. I don't have to control this situation.
Yes.
Life can still be beautiful or good or fulfilling in this particular situation, even with this burden. And I have to learn how to see what is the good in that situation so that I can receive, like you're talking about earlier, the benefit
Right.
that will make my life whole or good
Yes.
or valuable or glorious in light of whatever that thing is that I am upset about.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Which brings us to the final question. In light of our conversation, why is being present so vital for us?
Because good is inherent in our experience
Yeah, all the time.
all the time. It's like electricity is always in the air. It's
Yeah.
just a matter of you being aware of it or not.
Yes, exactly right. And this is why David says, bless the Lord. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me. Bless His holy name. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all His benefits. This is what he means by bless the Lord. He says in Psalm 34:1, I will bless the Lord at all times. His praise shall continually be in my mouth. Notice the all time, continually be, because I'm blessing the Lord for what I recognize is the good. Why it's so important for us to regularly throughout the day bless the Lord. It's why the Scripture is so important as a guide in blessing Him. As we bless Him, our attention is drawn. And in that attention being drawn to what God has done, is doing, so we are becoming present to the good that's there. And that sense of seeking the good is simply seeking, how is it that my life is being benefited right now? Right now. What is God doing at this very moment that is Him loving me at this moment? I mean, this is just the wonderful thing, isn't it? You know, I love my morning shower. I just go crazy about that. So I get up in the morning and I may have been just an absolute jerk the day before, the night before. I may have stayed up too late and thought about stupid things. But you know what? When I get up in the morning, the hot water still works. And the water still comes out of the nozzle. And it seems that it doesn't matter whether I'm good or bad, the water still comes. The warmth still feels good whether I've been a jerk or not. And it still gets me wet, and my beautiful gardenia soap still smells so good. And it smells good whether I have been bad or good, which means the goodness of God simply isn't dependent upon me. That God is constantly giving me good, whether I am good, whether I'm not so good. Imagine what would happen if God withdrew His good when you were bad. None of us would be here even. The problem is we aren't present to the goodness that's always there. And if that is God in the act of loving us, that means we're always being loved. There's never a time when I wish God would just show me that He loves me. Do you know? That's never a right thought. It's never a true thought. It's always the product of having not remembered the benefit. So amazing. Imagine how we could live our lives so much differently if we thought there's just no way that I'm ever bereft of the love of God. I'm always breathing. My heart is always beating. My blood is always circulating. My body is working to the degree that it does work only because that's God in the act of loving me at that moment. The fact that, as Brian brought up earlier, the fact that I simply have existence is the depth of God's love for me, and an existence that will never fail. It is an existence that will be brought to its completion. That is God in the act of loving me. And that is always going on whether I'm good or whether I'm not. Good heavens, how would we live? We might end up looking like Jesus. In just a few moments, we're going to be celebrating the fact that our life is with Jesus, always, at all times. And therefore, the good is always with us at all times. Reflect on that for just a few moments, and then come and take from the bread and the cup.